It's a great pleasure and a great honor to welcome our Stevie Moore on this show. He is a musician of much renown. How are you today, Stevie? Thank you for joining us.
Yes, nice to meet you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming since I believe you were introduced to my show because I interviewed your friend Ariel Pink.
That's right. Very enjoyable.
Mhm.
Thanks for sharing.
All right. Yeah, I'm glad to hear it. So I've also been introduced to your music from Ariel Pink too, and I find it to be endlessly interesting. Yeah. So,
Gracias. Gracias.
mhm. So how you doing like lately?
Aging. Struggle. The struggle is real.
Hmm. Let's see. Well,
I'm as I'm as active as I've ever been,
hmm
but it sure ain't the same as when I was in my 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. So everything's slowed down.
hmm I understand.
I kind of retired.
Hmm
And yet, my big job is certainly not retirement because I'm maintaining my back catalog in my legendary career, trying to make ends meet. I don't really write pop rock music anymore, but I have a blast being a spoken word artist and mix master,
hmm
and Bandcamp is my thing. Um, I have so many younger, new fans that I'm starting to reissue 20, 30, 40-year old recordings and they sound brand new.
hmm
So that's a great advantage for me to have. Uh, I do miss going out to my peeps and, and jumping on stage, but it's very difficult.
hmm
Uh, but I got the best of all worlds because I can bring out a song, as I said, from long ago, and people never even heard of me or heard the song. My career is just an endless loop, and that's fine with me.
I see. Well, since we are recording on video, like, could you show me a bit of your room there? Because I see a lot of like interesting posters and recordings there.
Well, I'm in my kitchen.
Mhm.
My microphone is muted. Check, check,
Yeah,
check.
yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, it says it's muted, but um, what am I supposed to do? Yeah, I live in a museum, my own museum.
Mhm.
Every room, stacks of CDs on stacks of CDs and photos, and getting all this.
Mhm. Well, yeah, I think for people who are not, for people who are only listening to this on audio, he's showing us his museum of a house. Yeah, which is very, very interesting. So you're currently living in Tennessee, right?
Right, my hometown.
Hmm
Uh, Long story short, I uh, I left Nashville um, in 1978 to escape the backwardness of the South
hmm
as punk rock and new wave were starting to happen and the DIY aesthetic was exploding. And so I moved to New Jersey, up near New York City, and lived there for 30 years
Mhm.
and continued my little bedroom recording for that period. And then I moved back to Nashville in 2010.
Mhm.
And so that's my Nashville story. I never thought I'd ever have to come back here, but for various reasons I did. Uh, but I went to New York to try to make it big, and I'm still working on
I see. Yeah, so tell me about your like personal upbringing, your childhood. Was it an interesting one?
that. Very complicated, somewhat abusive.
Hmm.
My father, generally well known, uh, was a Bob Moore,
Hmm.
Nashville A-team studio bass player
Hmm.
from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, worked on tens of thousands of sessions, wasn't on the road much or playing live shows. He was booked in major country music recording sessions. And so that's my upbringing. I was a shy kid, slightly abused psychologically, uh, because my father wanted me to do what I did not want to do, and that was all kinds of things. But mainly in music, I was a 60s kid. Glory be. Beatles, Beach Boys, Jimi Hendrix, Frank Zappa, list is endless. Very varied and experimental and electric rock. Being in Nashville was all what you'd expect. Country songs about pickup trucks and drinking. Uh, so I was an outcast way back then, and I started recording
Hmm.
at home, early 70s, and began the long journey.
Hmm.
And that's why I'm considered one of the pioneers of lo-fi recording, although I can't stand the whole lo-fi thing. Fidelity is not the issue. It's doing it yourself,
Hmm.
bypassing bypassing the companies and the corporate greed and the loss of freedom. Not to mention, I was never able to be slotted into mainstream commercial radio, whatever that means, or even selling records because I'm so diverse.
Hmm.
Every style, free form, chaos. I've been doing radio for decades. Free form that jumps from style to style, diversity, and in this day and age of tunnel vision for almost everybody, even kids, they don't want to stray from the middle of the road. So, often I would shoot myself in the foot because of my stylistic diversity, as well as offer every recording I've ever made instead of picking the best and throwing the worst to the cutting room floor because I don't believe in. I think it's all relevant, and that's my motto.
Hmm.
All or nothing. I don't like ranking. There's no such thing as best and worst. Ask me tomorrow, it may change. People don't understand that. It's all about favorites, but um, everything's a favorite for me. So it's a blessing and a curse.
Hmm. Yes. Is there an artist or a recording that when you hear him or when you hear the recording, you said to yourself, that's what I want to do, become a musician just like him?
Beatles,
Hmm. Which one?
Ed Sullivan. What do you mean?
Mm.
Which one? Which
Okay.
band? Which band member?
Which recording? Sorry.
From the beginning.
Hmm. Yeah, the I want to hold your hands type deal, right?
Yeah, I was 12 years old.
Hmm.
So do the math. It's fantastic. Uh,
Right. Yeah.
But before that happened, I was also into novelty records,
Mhm,
45, 45s as a child, doo-wop,
mhm,
Elvis, Elvis, Little Richard, Chuck Berry, you name it, the usual, you know. But I also loved orchestra and pop singers, Frank Sinatra, all equally. You know, these were all influential on me. Brian Wilson, another major. Brian Wilson and the Beatles came about the same time, and I was hooked for life. You know,
mhm.
I'm blessed with fairly good ears,
Yeah.
courtesy of my father, and quick learner and learning self-taught guitar, bass, percussion. Uh, I've always been a distinctive vocalist, acquired taste. I have a song called "I Wish I Could Sing."
Mhm,
Uh, yeah, so I mean, it doesn't. It's not any big deal that I have to compete, and I can't compete, especially these days. It's absurd because no one comes close with the talent and ambition.
mhm,
Anyway, that's pretty much my story. And the '60s were huge for me, including cannabis and underground dropout from college, and I was on the road through the '70s with rock bands, but again stuck in Nashville. And my uncle in New Jersey, who was one of my only true followers, he was a rocker, said you got to get out of Nashville, and that's exactly what happened. And again, all music is influential to
mhm. Yeah.
me, especially this experimental.
Mhm,
And that goes as far as avant-garde and noise
mhm,
and, and cut and paste and all the many things. I love prog rock. I love synthesizers, uh, big on spoken word and beat poetry and all of those things.
I see. Yeah. I wonder how do you come across these experimental avant-garde records? Because in our days we have the music streaming services, so they're more accessible. But back in your day, how do you seek those out?
LPs.
Mm,
And I kept up with it. I was in Nashville, big record collector from the word go, and I was the one that turned people on to these new artists named David Bowie
hmm
and yeah, and Elton John of all people, and Sparks and Roxy Music, and all through every decade, and then power pop, very important to me, obviously because of Beatles, but
hmm
I loved a lot of that. Todd Rundgren goes
hmm
without saying. Stevie Wonder, Paul McCartney, the original one man bands,
hmm
doing it doing it at home. No one ever called it lo-fi, because I mean I've always rebelled against that.
hmm
What do we have to do? Sound like Journey, Madonna? It's ridiculous. Uh, and I grew up loving Beatles bootlegs with
hmm
all of this noise and hiss. We never cared about that. We never called it, well, it's unlistenable. Of course, it's not unlistenable. I love tape recorders. So now here we are, with digital and almost artificial intelligence and text to speech robots. Anyway, I'm loving it all, but I'll never forsake my original DIY. It has nothing to do with lo-fi.
hmm
Uh, and I'm continuing that quest.
hmm Yeah. So tell us more about the uniqueness of that do-it-yourself aesthetics that you, I guess, not just pioneered, but were an integral part of, the scene.
Yeah, but I always rebelled against trying to. What do I do? How do I fit into? I'm waiting for the big phone call,
Mhm.
and it's never really coming, but that's okay. I'm so used to it by now. And it even boosts my own integrity as I'm in my 70s now, to where it's like I have nothing to prove. Uh, I am promoting the hell out of myself always on the stupid social networks, mainly because somebody's got to do it. I'm a one person company, but it's all fake and a hoax. And I'm not even an artist anymore. I'm a record company label honcho, uh, putting out music by my former selves. So it's a riot, it's a laugh riot. So I'm happy about it. I'm having health issues, but people say, man, you're on fire. They're saying that you're more vibrant than you ever were. And that makes me very happy, so I haven't changed really a bit in half a century.
Let's see that. Yeah. Yeah, it's in some ways you are the opposite of say Phil Spector, right? Where he's like very, very overblown and overproduced, and you have your home as a studio, and then you don't, yeah, just that.
Yeah, very much so. And I mean, I enjoyed studio work through the decades.
Mhm.
Often I would take my home demos, which I never called them demos. That's ridiculous. The whole concept of putting down something to present to the man, so that he can invest thousands of dollars to put me in a proper recording studio. I've gone through that some. It's been pleasurable. It's also like a total uh, failure, because I mean, when you're forced to do something by their rules, it loses a lot of what the original home demos were. So and again, I don't have preferences. It's kind of silly to try to make my music better or bigger. Uh, I'm wide open. I'm often called a man who needs an editor, that's the other thing, as far as I don't know how to, and I don't want to know, present only the valid R. Stevie Moore instead of a lot of the junk, as they may call it. But I'm proud of that junk. I mean, it's me. It's a diary of sound. It's always been that way, and it always will be.
Mhm. Yeah.
But production, you mentioned Phil Spector. I mean, I'm a huge idol of him.
Mhm.
Oh, wait, he's a big idol of mine. My point being, though, that production is not my concern. Although people hear my tape, reel-to-reel tape recordings from the 70s and say, how in the world did you do that? And sure, it's a little gritty sounding, but it's many, many, many overdubs, all by me.
Mhm.
And that's the records that matter, not the songs to be corrected proper. I'm totally improper, and that's my religion.
Of course. Yes. Do you remember how you made your first recordings and how you distributed them, get them out there?
Basic, passing them along to friends.
Mhm.
I was slow and broke to be able to promote them properly, just as I couldn't record them properly. Who cares? Um, I advertised with a very essential New York City rock magazine called Trouser Press, and they were one of the first to promote me. Very slow going, and then in the '80s, there was a thing called the Sony Walkman,
Mm.
and everybody's starting to have cassette decks.
Yeah.
So I made this little R. Stevie Moore cassette club, which was half serious, and also it was the only thing I knew how to do. So I networked through the postal system, sent out a catalog, slowly built up collections of lunatics that wanted my music, and building stacks of cassettes. And then I interested some important record companies in Paris, New Rose Records, in 1984, and they put out 4 great records of mine, some studios, some compilations of my home stuff. And so there's your 80s. Then you move into the 90s, and I started performing live a little bit around New York. Had a couple of bands, did some solo stuff. Wasn't big on it, never toured. Then we get into the 2000s. I'm like a cat with 9 lives. Something happened in the 2000s, a thing called the internet, which seems to be tailor-made, invented for me and my aesthetic. So instead of sending out mail order catalogs, suddenly I got online, and suddenly people that couldn't find my records in stores in Europe got directly to me. And that happens to this day. It's driving me nuts about how open I am, not only with my music, but with my contacts. I have to be careful. I have thousands and thousands of followers. And of course, the burden is trying to weed out the right ones and get rid of the stalking and the idiots. Yeah, I have lots of people just come at me, and I want them to come at me, but it helps if they buy my music. And Bandcamp is my deal.
Of course, yes.
I have two discographies, my home, and that's what's on Bandcamp, my every home recording ever, 500 plus double albums. It's absolutely absurd. Wow. I have people that put me down for that. Like, where do I start? They say, and I make a joke saying, "Let me hold your hand and help you across the street, Grandma." You know, because it is very complicated. But I also have best of our Stevie Moore collections, naturally, for newbies and starters. Most real fans want all of me all at once. They don't want just the pop hits. Some are the opposite. Anyway, I put out everything, and it's helping to pay my rent. And all that. The other discography are official LPs and CDs that have been released since the 80s.
I see.
There are various labels. It's all indie. I never had any major, but it's all independent labels since the 80s. CDs, they continue to. Now the big thing is to reissue old material on CDs, remastered. It's incredible. Such as the new one, Games and Groceries, which was 1978, and always only on cassette or CDR. So I graduated from cassette to homemade CDR. I was going crazy with the progress of technology. I could have my own records pressed by my own hands at home. CDRs. Don't do that too much anymore. I don't even do mail order anymore much because everything's instant download. Sometimes for free, sometimes for a little pricey. So it's a tossing game, and it's a circus, but I'm loving it. I'm doing it my way. Defiantly independent, fiercely my own mama. So that's it. Yeah, the Ariel Pink connection came later. He tracked me down. He was blown away that I was so open. He said one of the first emails he ever got was from me. One of my names was Marston Moore. which is a UK battle, the Battle of Marston Moor. I often use that pseudonym because it rhymes with my name. But we were in touch. He was sending me cassettes and back and forth. It's very simple. We just came together.
Mhm.
Our music really doesn't sound alike at all, much at all. But the aesthetic is always there. So we're still in touch. But we're not collaborating like we should have been. We did last decade. For me, everything's decades, So
Yeah. Yeah, of course. I think a good starter would be the album that you did with Ariel called Ku Klux Klan, which is a very lovely title. Yeah, that's a wonderful album. And
thank you.
and I do see Ariel Pinks's DIY aesthetics being influence, an influence of yours.
Of course, now you have Ariel Pink sound alikes.
Oh yeah.
That's nothing new.
Hmm.
There aren't too many Stevie Moore sound alikes, but the ones that I discover, I bond with quite often, and we trade music. I wish I could collaborate, but it's more difficult with age. But I've done so much, I really have. So I can't let it get me down with depression.
I see.
That I can't do all the work that I want to do. And that's what's shocking, is that I still have all this ambition. If I could only chill out and bask in the glory of my career, as opposed to getting panic attacks because I want to do more. I found this great girl singer. Let's do something. I want to do this. I have to fend people off. It depends on if I like their music, if it's good enough. Never ending. And again, I'm a one-man staff and need a little company of interns or something that people can take care of all of the other stuff. Not so that I can make music, but just it's 24/7 for me. It's just I have to learn to slow down, but I'm just constantly at it.
I see. So, yeah, you said earlier in the conversation that you're retired now, right? Like, are
Well,
you like recording, performing music?
yes and no. I'm doing stuff for band camps. I'm having now I'm having a blast putting together 1 or 2 hour, I call them nodcasts.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, they're free form radio shows of me, of my friends, of copywritten songs of my past. I'm totally against all of this crap about copyright infringement and getting flagged and all that. Why can't I put a copywritten track from somebody else without asking permission on one of them, as long as I'm not selling it? When you have all these other people, a million podcasts out there, and it's free promotion. It's just radio. Radio has become streaming. So, yeah, I mean, there's logistics and legalities up the wazoo. And I just, I'm not really concerned about that. I get flagged for posting my own music because the robots come down on me. You can't do this. Yeah.
No,
So, yeah, and but that's the world we live in. So, so like I said, but retirement was sort of a half joke, half not. Ironically, I announced it on my website, December 31st, 2019, mainly because of frustration. I'm really down on the fact that I'm so ignored. There's so much apathy and indifference for someone of my ilk, except for true fans and true nerds and people that are in the know of being creative. and not sounding like Wilco or Def Leppard, or the list is endless. I'm a longtime music historian. I know and love all musics. Kiss, I'm a huge Kiss fan. Yeah, and singer-songwriters, I hate because they make no efforts, chord changes, great lyrics, melodies. Give me Paul McCartney or give me Death. So, right. So, my retirement announcement was mainly about recording, which I still record, but I'm not like I used to. I'm not putting out albums. Have you heard R. Stevie Moore's latest music? Because my music is not music. It's radio, theater. It's sound diary theater, and I'm loving that. I always did that in the 70s. I'm doing it 50 years later. And also performance. I had a spell there from 2011 to 2014 where I was touring with a new young band in Brooklyn, New York, and going around the world. All of a sudden, and Ariel Pink was to be credited for that because he set the groundwork when he was out touring alone, jumping on stage awkwardly with his little cassette backing tracks, which is brilliant, but it's also, you got to have some musicians, yo. And he went on to have some of the most incredible live performances with other bands. So yeah, I gave up performance, and I was having health issues, too much trouble to travel. So I announced right then and there, 2014, I got to quit. I cannot continue to be booked for tours and festivals. I was doing festivals and also dark smoky dives in Italy. It was wonderful, but it was also I just couldn't deal with it. One of my things is my career started taking off a little too late in life. So that was my big retirement announcement. And also at the same time was the big documentary film, Cool Daddy-O, which was three or 4 years in the making by two British film makers that they were inexperienced. They had never really done anything like that before. It was quite an experience. Then 2 months later, something happened called COVID, as we all know. So I had retired, tongue in cheek, and then suddenly the whole world goes on lockdown. The movie started to premiere, but then it got stalled because everybody was in panic. What do we do? I tried my best to get it on Netflix, and sent to Sundance film festivals all around the world, that kind of stuff, and it's still kind of just sitting on a shelf. It's a fantastic film, but I don't know how to compare it. How can I be objective? So much has changed since then, even. But it was, where was I going with this? So then COVID happened, and I happened to have a song from '86 called "I Like to Stay Home," and I thought this can be an anthem during the virus. So, no such luck. I could have had quite a hit there, but it didn't happen yet because we do all like to stay home. So there's another thing. I'm cursed with missteps and misfortune. It's all kind of it's not anything I'm doing wrong. It's not anything the world at large is doing wrong. It's all kind of written in the stars, which I don't believe. Fate, I don't know. But that's your story. No question?
Of course. All right. So, do you listen to current contemporary music?
Yes, I do. As much as I can. There's only 24 hours in each day. There's a lot of new stuff I hate, because I've been there, done that. I like quirky stuff.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite right now is suddenly global superstars, the Isle of Wight group, Wet Leg.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I discovered them before anybody had heard of them, loved it. Mainly based on MTV, not MTV, listen to me. Faux pas, YouTube.
Yes.
Isn't that fun? I meant to say YouTube, but I said MTV, of which that's before your time. I'm just kidding. I never had any luck with MTV. Almost, I've always been on the fringe. Mm-hmm. Cringe. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at right now. I'm notorious, like a Frank Zappa type, to where I'm just breaking the rules. Mm-hmm. I still have all of these skills, even if it's in bringing back songs that nobody's ever heard. And if I don't tell them the recording date, they think it's brand new. Mm-hmm. The joke is on them. So I like Wet Leg. I don't like Americana, worth a shit. Being in Nashville, it's all you get around here. The new country, the new naturalists, and they have no rock sensibility whatsoever. Unless it's boogie woogie, or blues based. I was never much of a blues fan. Now I'm a devotee of the classics, whether it's John Lee Hooker or Robert Johnson. Same with hillbilly music. I can't stand the Nashville thing, but you can't beat Hank Williams and George Jones, and the list is endless. The old stuff. So yeah, I'm the old guy yelling at the crowd. Get rid of these. Get rid of indie rock. I like the Beths. They're from North Carolina, girl singer. I love the Lemon Twigs. I can name drop forever, but refreshing music. It's got to be, refreshing. I like experimental noise. A lot of my peeps are way underground and look up to me as this, godlike figure because of my pop skills, but I still give them a chance. They're a little noisy experimentation. I love it. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. It's a crazy world, but I mean, that's where I'm at. I love hip hop, but only good hip hop. I can't stand like most of us, we're sick of this misogyny and racist bullshit with all the gold chains and the gun culture and all of that. I love Kendrick. Yeah. Should be good. Goes without saying. Tyler. Mm-hmm. I'm always on the cutting edge. I mean, I discovered Prince before anybody knew who he was. Mm-hmm. I was a Michael Jackson fanatic, tongue in cheek, where do we go with this? But the modern hip hop, Kanye, it's just, who knows what's next. I like a lot of lo-fi, DIY rap, and there's tons of that, and it's brilliant. And I'm getting follow requests on Instagram like 20 a day, and I don't have time to check them all out. But when I do, it's like, wow, this is some kid with a SoundCloud account, and it's brilliant. He's doing sort of what I'm doing. He's got great freestyle rap skills, but he's also putting on great creative beats, orchestra, sampling, and all those things. So that's where it's at for me. And again, oldies is always for me more than anything. My childhood.
Do you find that your music, since it's so diverse and out of the box, carries a special appeal to outsiders and weirdos and outcasts and all that?
Yeah, naturally, obvi. sure thing.
Mhm.
I milk it for all it's worth.
Yeah.
Because nobody else can do that. Nobody else will do that. Nobody can do that, you know. I like middle of the road in instrumentals and soft guitar stuff, followed by crunch, grunge. You know, I mean, Nirvana changed my life. I loved Oasis,
Mhm.
tongue in cheek, tongue in cheek.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they have that song, right? Champagne Supernova. That's a really good one.
Oh yeah, and again, I keep repeating. I was on top of them before anybody else knew about
Mhm.
them. And yes, they were Beatles derivative.
Mhm.
So was ELO.
Mhm.
Huge fan. Tongue in cheek. You know, I totally understand people not liking them because they were very homogenized. Jeff Lynne is a hero. Roy Wood of ELO and The Move was one of the early one-man bands where he played all instruments. It was unbelievable. If you don't know Roy Wood, check him out.
Sure. All right. So I want to stick to the topic of Ariel Pink a bit because obviously he's uh, he's been the target of much controversy. You know, most of it I think is undeserved because he was in the wrong rally at the wrong time, supporting the quote unquote wrong candidate. Yeah, I wonder if he gave you a heads up before, you know, he attended the Trump rally that just so happens to fall on January the 6th, 2021.
What's the question?
Oh, right.
Um,
Did Ariel like inform you or like did he let you know that he was attending this rally?
no,
Mhm. Right. So you found out about it after the fact, right?
yeah, pretty much the day or two after because of Twitter,
Oh.
which I've kind of avoided lately. That's overwhelming Twitter. Uh, and that's fine with me. You know, I mean,
Mhm.
when I get on socials and I start getting questioned about things, and I'm very reckless with my speech and humor, and I don't care, you know. Uh, and you got these kids saying, "Well, I used to like your music, but now go, you know, you stick it up your ass." I don't know. The thing with the thing with Ariel, we weren't, you know, he's always been. How do I? How deep do I go with this? He's always been strong with politics. Not me. I think it's all a sham. It's all a joke, just like religion. But that's my own personal thing. But sometimes I don't understand the Trump thing with Ariel. But I'm not going to question it. I don't want to get into discussions and debates
Mhm.
and condescension and confrontation. But he knows how I feel. Uh, I'm not sure why he would have been all the way from. It's none of my business, but why he would travel from Los Angeles to Washington D.C. without strong conviction, which is what he has.
Mhm.
God bless him. God bless him. But yeah, and then the cancel culture, which is total BS,
Yeah.
is labeled Mexican Summer dropping him, just as they were putting out amazing packages of his classic records.
Mhm.
So explain that. You know, it doesn't make any sense. Everybody's worried about being canceled themselves,
Mhm.
except our Stevie Moore.
Of course. Yes.
Yeah, and I'm proud of that. I'm not going to bend. You
Mhm.
know, uh, yeah, the politics thing. I don't know. Sometimes I think Ariel steps on his own feet. You're going to have to edit that out. Just kidding. he knows where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
I, I know where he's coming from. We're two different people. Do
Mhm.
not judge. Do not judge. Uh, I wish him all the very best. I'm so extremely pleased that he found a wonderful wife and now has a child.
Mhm.
Uh, I miss the hell out of him. And
Mhm.
we'll be back. We'll be back in touch.
Mhm.
It was 10 years ago when we recorded together with Jason Faulkner in Hollywood, another great friend of mine. You familiar with Jason Faulkner?
Yeah. No, I did not. I've only recently heard of him.
Okay. You need to seek him out for your podcast, for your Zoom. I
Oh,
would
sure.
love it. Yeah,
Sure. I'll get in touch with him.
I can help hook you up too. And of course, that's what I'm trying to do too. You did see my Cool Daddy O movie?
I will.
Okay, it's on YouTube.
Mhm.
Uh, but there's a lot of people in there, like Mike Watt of the Minutemen, legendary Stooges.
Mhm.
A lot of big fans, but not enough. And I need Brian Eno to give
Mhm.
me a call. So give me his number. His number is 98765432122. Uh, uh, again, I mean that's I don't go out of my way like going out and trying to find these people. I have no agent, no management. It's uncanny that I've been as successful as I have strictly from my own pocket.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I understand. Right.
yeah,
I think it would be great if, somehow I get an interview with both you and Ariel. So just so, you guys can get in touch again.
yeah, we are in touch, but just sadly not as often.
I see.
And with a lot of my friends, I've regretted that they've lost the art of conversation. Everything's snarkasm,
Hmm.
which I've been calling that. Twitter's the worst.
Yeah.
Everybody's always kind of like, "Are you being serious or not?" And I'm the worst at it.
Hmm.
Or Steve, we can't tell if you're being serious or not,
Hmm.
just in conversation. Now, I guarantee everything I'm telling you is definitely serious
Hmm.
because I'm on stage here, and I'm grateful to you for allowing that. But a lot of friends just don't reach out, including Ari,
Uh-huh.
unless it's in fun, in humor, in snarkasm.
Right. Yeah, I'll reach out to him and see if we can make it happen. An interview with both you and him on this show. All right. Okay.
Would it be possible to do a Zoom with the three of us?
Yeah, yes,
Yeah,
that's what I'm planning to do. Yeah.
let's do
Reach
that.
out to him. Okay.
Great, man.
Hmm. Yeah, and so a couple of final questions. I do find myself in that minefield of communicating, and then people sort of like misread my intentions, and then all sorts of trouble sprang up either publicly or privately. It just yeah, and then I think at that point, I think it would be possible if you just limit yourself to like a number of good close friends.
Right. And of course, I run the risk of having so many followers. I want them all to be good, close friends. But that's impossible.
Yeah.
And it's a full time job
Hmm.
trying to weed out the wheat from the chaff.
Of course.
Yeah. But I can't afford to ignore possible future fans and customers.
Mhm.
I'm my own advertising agent.
Mhm. Yeah. I wonder if you feel the same sort of like thrill and excitement when you discover a record that you haven't heard before, either from the past or a new one, and then that basically makes your week even like that.
No question.
Mhm.
I'm a music fanatic since
Oh yeah.
childhood, so that happens a lot. But I mean, it also doesn't happen like as much as it should. But I can only handle so much. I mean, the barrage of discoveries on the internet is overwhelming
Mhm.
for somebody like me. I save everything. I'm running out of storage space. I love video clips. I love photographs, full length movies. I'm not a cinema buff. I don't like keeping up with movies. Never have. My attention span is very short. Uh, but I love documentaries
Mhm.
because I'm an intellectual and I like facts. I don't want to go through a plot, fictionalized plot, and watch acting at all. That totally repulses me. I'm too busy needle dropping, listening to records and CDs and flats. Yeah, it's overwhelming, but it's all in the game.
Of course. Right.
I'm,
So
I'm single. I have some prospects, some sweet friends that I'm trying to get closer to, but they're distant
mhm.
from Nashville, Tennessee. So I'm always working on that too. A romantic at heart, which means my heart gets broken quite often, easily.
Yeah, I can say the same.
Yeah. And also I've got this problem with narcissism, self obsession with myself
Mhm.
since I was a little boy. So that can work for you or against you. But again, in this culture, this cancel culture, it's like you're going to tell me how I should feel about myself over how I should feel about being charitable towards the more unfortunate. No, I mean, I'm not concerned with that. How could I be? I mean, we're all kind of playing these games. That's all. It's drama, drama.
Mhm.
So rock out. That's all I
Right.
can say.
Mhm.
Rock.
Right. So final question. What does music mean to you?
I don't understand the question.
What does music mean to you? Yes,
I hate it. I can't stand music. It's the biggest waste of time. Dude, I was born inside my father's upright bass fiddle.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I'm a bass man at heart, and yeah, all music means everything. I guess that's my answer. Uh, but not pretend music.
Yeah.
It's got to be real. Got to be real.
Well,
So, anything else? I guess we covered everything.
yeah. Yeah, for the time being, I think that would be the wrap up right now. So thank you very much, R. Stevie Moore, for being on this program. I look forward to having you again with Ariel Pink at some point in the future. Take care of yourself and have a good day.
One love. See ya.
See ya.